What happens is that a lot of universities have their own people who they, employ to talk to prospective candidates. To be very honest with you, I was expecting some unfortunate news.
Wow.
It was absolute goosebumps, to be very honest, yeah. My mom was just beside me and I just told her, Ma, I think Oxford হয়ে গেছে। এই আয় তাড়াতাড়ি আয় তুহিনের অক্সফোর্ড হয়ে গেছে
Wow,
এত
that
দিনের
was such
স্বপ্ন
a proud feeling for her.
Absolutely. She made probably
That
10 to
my
15
son
phone
got
calls.
into
Yeah,
Oxford.
absolutely. When you begin applying for a PhD, it is not just you don't just do it 2 months prior to applying. The process starts at least 1.5 or 2 years ago. But when the reality really kicks in for the first time, you understand that you should have heard so much from a long time ago.
Welcome to another brand new episode of Student Voice Matters. This is your host Sonalika Goswami, and today we have with us a very bright student who's very soon going to be a PhD candidate at Oxford University. Rohit Das, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Rohit, Oxford University is a big deal, and so today we'll talk about, how is it feeling going through all this? And whatever you're going through right now, we'd love for you to share that with us.
Definitely, yeah.
And also, because a lot of people dream to go to Oxford.
Absolutely.
How did you manage to get it done? So first of all, how are you feeling now that you have been selected as a PhD candidate?
Honestly, I've heard this question so many times, I don't really know how to pinpoint an answer for this. There are so many adjectives I can use for that.
Feel free.
But yeah, I feel euphoric. Happy doesn't cut it, to be very honest. Since, and I'll be very honest, I feel relieved as well because the process in itself was so huge, so elaborate. So there is a sense of relief, and knowing the fact that you have achieved something you've always dreamed of, there's that sense of satisfaction as well. So all in one, it's a proper dish that has been created.
That is fantastic. Yeah. Many congratulations
Thank
to you
so
for
much.
that. And now you have applying, I'm sure itself is like a journey.
Yeah.
And coming from my experience of preparing for studying abroad,
Yeah.
I know that the entire journey, especially when you do it by yourself, is long and it requires a lot of
Absolutely.
research and figuring out what is the right thing for you.
Absolutely.
So now that is done, you have another big road in front of you that is actually going there and starting and getting through it. How do you feel about that? Do you think about that?
I definitely think about that. In fact, if you see my YouTube watch history, everything is filled with the next steps of how you tend to, gel in with the crowd over there. I have even considered all the sightseeing venues that I will be going to for at least a month before I start my course.
That should
Absolutely,
be
because I have so many things in my list because I am an avid football fan as well.
Wonderful.
So UK being the hub of that makes me excited as well.
Absolutely. You're going to be going to the clubs, Manchester United States. Wonderful. So I can feel the ecstasy in your voice, you're so happy about it. Well, tell us a little bit about the journey of getting to here, getting admitted or getting selected as a PhD candidate.
So, in fact, that shouldn't warrant a short answer because
let me just break that up for you so that it's easy. So, why Oxford, or how did you come to choose Oxford?
So, honestly speaking, even that has a proper chronology, everything pointing towards Oxford. So, be it my own parents, my mom especially, she wanted me to study in Oxford ever since I was in nursery.
Wow.
So, for me...
So, it was kind of engraved in you.
Absolutely. For me, it is in fact really nice that it culminated into a similar kind of, wish list for me and my mom, because I myself have delved into public speaking, debates and whatnot. So that particular area, the area of dialogue, if one university stood out for me in that sphere, it was Oxford University.
Wonderful.
So that has been a dream of mine even before I started chemistry.
And you were telling me before we started recording that your mom had been to UK.
Yeah,
and
she had.
She saw the campus of Oxford and she was like, this is where my son is going to study. She knew that.
Oxford actually has that effect on people, and she was just another person to be absolutely enthralled by the beauty of it. But for me, everything coincided in one place, be it in terms of my supervisor, the domain I'm going to study, everything kind of coincided, and that makes for a very special experience, especially for a student. Yeah.
You know, while all of this is very happy to hear too, but you know, there's this thing in a brown household, in an Indian household, is that whenever the parents, no matter how supportive they are, whenever it comes to their kids going away, you know, going to a foreign land or in any other city, you know, away from their parents, they start, you know, getting concerned. They start thinking, oh, is this the right thing? Oh, can't my son just be near me? So have you faced that from your mom and dad?
I have actually faced that. My mom experiences it a lot. The detachment issues are there. And to be very honest, that is why I was in Kolkata for my master's as well. I was wishing to go abroad even then, but then I decided, no, let's just do my PhD
From
over
here
there.
itself.
Yeah. So my mom has that, and in fact, to be very honest with you, we are considering all the visa options which can also bring her along, because
for a few days,
for a few
just
months,
to help you set up.
Yeah,
Correct.
to settle in, because even she needs to see that my son is safe. Even at this age, she's just the same.
You know, this is something that because I had gone abroad. I had gone to the US in 2022, which was right after the lockdown scenario was over. So the visa line, I mean, my mom and dad were thinking, oh, is this like safe to travel abroad right now? Like, she is going for a purpose, but you know, we can visit her some other time maybe, or we can go there some other time. And also my best friend's parents, they actually made all the arrangements. They applied for the visa, but because the visa lines were like so long, you know, especially the tourist visa, there were so many pending visas, you know. For that, they actually got a visa much later, you know, much after my best friend and I, we went abroad. So, you know, we missed that moment, but I so wished, and my best friend so wished that, you know, oh, I wish my mom and dad. So I really hope that you are able to take her.
Yeah, in fact, I myself haven't been without her for very long.
Right.
So in spite of the fact that there is that touch of independence that looms in me, I still feel like there will be certain instances where I will wish she was there. So let's just hope that 1 month I'm there with her, I can properly gel in.
I hope so
to
too.
be in my own habitat over there. Yeah.
So when she first heard that you got into Oxford, what was her reaction like?
So that happened very cinematically. The thing is that even I was not expecting to hear from them so soon, and it rarely happens. What happened is, I had my interview on a particular day. I think it was 7th of February, if I'm not mistaken. So after my interview on that very day, since they run on a 5-hour, 30-minute time gap with us.
Correct.
So it was, I think, 1 a.m. in our place.
Okay.
And I was awake, and I suddenly got an email. I do not really check my emails late at night, but I just saw it was from my supervisor. And to be very honest with you, I was expecting some unfortunate news, because
unfortunately we want something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was we were very happy to talk to you, and I would love if you were to join my group. And
wow.
I didn't have any words. My mom was just beside me, and I just told her, Ma, I think Oxford hoega.
Wow.
It was absolute goosebumps, to be very honest. Yeah.
And what was her reaction like?
If I could enact it right now, this would be very different. I have to jump up to enact. The first thing she did, so my maternal aunt was at our place at that time, and she just went and she was like, she calls me Tuhin. So, Tuhin at Oxford hoega je.
Wow, that was such a proud feeling for her.
Absolutely. She was more than proud. The only thing that went through her mind at that time was to let everyone in my family just know. She made probably 10 to 15 phone calls. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was euphoric for her.
And what about, and so now, do you think about the responsibilities like cooking and stuff? We were just discussing before this, you know, that you're learning to cook and all that. So in terms of responsibilities, you know, this is something that a lot of students tend to forget in this ecstatic and with all the excitements of exploring and doing this, doing that, checking off their bucket list, they also forget about the types of responsibilities a student has to take on. So are you being told about that from your family? Eta korte hobe kintu giye eta nijeke korte hobe ota. Are you going through that as well?
So living in a brown household, this is something I've been hearing throughout my life. Eta nijeke korte hobe. But when the reality really kicks in for the first time, you understand that you should have heard so much from a long time ago. So now that has set in, the reality has set in for me. I'm learning how to cook every day. I stand beside my mother when she does her cooking, and
take it from the experience that I had. You're going to figure it all out. You're going to know. So you don't have to I understand that knowing it, learning a little bit of it is very important, but it will take time, but you will figure it out, and you will eventually, because if I could, you surely can eventually get there.
That is an advice I get from a lot of friends as well.
Yes. So now let's get into some serious talks.
Absolutely.
How did you prepare? How did that start? How did all the process begin?
So I'll just take you through the entire process as a whole.
Absolutely.
So I'll be very honest, although it might sound very cynical to a lot of people. When you begin applying for a PhD, it is not just you don't just do it 2 months prior to applying. The process starts at least 1.5 or 2 years ago.
So true. I'll just go 2 steps back and just ask you that. Did you always know you wanted to do your PhD abroad, or was there a specific reason that you chose abroad for your PhD studies?
I always knew that I wanted to be in Oxford.
Okay.
So that was always a
dream. So you were looking for opportunity to just apply to Oxford?
To just apply. I mean, the fact that everything coincided is a big deal for me, because talking about my PhD, if my domain was not specific to my own interests, I might have not chosen Oxford in spite of all my interest.
But then it did.
So the fact that it coincided together, that was a huge deal for me.
Wonderful. So now let's get back to the process.
Absolutely. So you start at least 1.5 to 2 years ago, and since I didn't consult a professional service per se, I talked to a lot of people through LinkedIn and other sources where they were already, studying in Oxford or Cambridge.
Okay.
They have been through that experience. They know how the applications work. So I feel like the ones who have experienced it helps if you know their advice, if you know their suggestions. So that is what kickstarted everything. And as a chemistry student, the first thing you look forward before applying for a PhD is to have research experience. So my first intention was to apply in a particular university under a particular supervisor who is doing something in the domain that I want to apply in.
Correct. That whose interests align with yours.
Exactly. So this is all a part of the process. And a lot of people skip that particular part, because what happens is that if your interest doesn't align with the research you have already done, then it doesn't make sense.
Correct. Then you'll be as confused being there as...
Yeah.
You'll just waste your time in a way.
Absolutely. And you need to create a good rapport with the professors you want references from.
True.
So I got them from the professors who taught me, plus the one under whom I did my research.
Where did you do your research previously?
I did it in ISES. Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, what are the requirements when you make a PhD application to somewhere like Oxford? What are the requirements like?
So, oftentimes a lot of people think, since in India we are oftentimes groomed to think in a way that it is all very competitive, but when you apply to Oxford or any place as such abroad, their entire process is very holistic. So they will see everything. But in terms of a PhD, it's a little technical as well. They will see whether you're suited to their group, whether your research aligns with what they are doing in their group, because they want someone with whom they can carry their research forward.
True.
Because it's the supervisor's work as well.
Absolutely.
So when you apply for a PhD, there are certain documentations you always need to take care of. You need to take care of the essays firstly. So the essay in UK and in US, it is a little different. In US, there are a little more essays than in UK. In UK, you have a statement of purpose. So for research, it's a research proposal or a research statement and not a statement of purpose, because over there you also need to talk about what your research interests are,
Okay.
what you will bring to this particular domain in the future.
So it's like a SOP for your professional field or your field of research only.
Exactly. So it has a lot of technicality involved in it. And you have to also talk about how your research aligns with the work being conducted in a particular supervisor's field as well.
Do you have to like sit for any examinations?
No, you don't have to sit for your examination. Any examinations, what you need to do is have a good score in the examinations in your college.
Which is your graduation
Yeah,
GPA.
yeah. That needs to be there. It's a myth that a poor GPA can get you into, a top-notch college. You have to keep a good GPA per se. In our college, we followed the CGPA system, so it was
Correct.
out of 10. So Oxford usually looks for candidates, especially in PhD, for a CGPA at least over 7, which they call in
Right.
US, even UK, as a 1:1 distinction.
Correct. That is wonderful. And so, when you were like going through it all, how much did you interact with the university? Were they responsive to your emails? What was that interaction like?
So what happens is that a lot of universities have their own people who they employ to talk to prospective candidates. Oxford doesn't have anything as such. What they do have is people abounding, someone who is already studying or doing PhD in Oxford. And nowadays you have so many resources, professional resources like LinkedIn. You can easily search for them.
So true, yeah.
Yeah, so all you need to do is start a conversation, build a certain network. A lot of people think that you will do it all on your own, but taking a little help to leverage that at the end of the day is all you need.
And so one more thing, now that you're applying, then you've applied and you got selected. Are there like any things like, what is the visa process like? Is it I'm assuming you have already been approved of your visa?
No.
Okay,
So, yeah.
that is yet to go. Okay, so this will probably not be the right time to ask you any visa question.
But, yeah, you can ask me in a way. The thing is that there are so many technicalities involved before the visa process.
Yeah. So what is the preparation like right now?
So right now, the first thing that anyone who gets into such a top-notch university, the first thing they look for is funding. To be very honest, my project is not funded by the university themselves, so I have applied for scholarships. So I have a couple of interviews coming up, so I need to know my funding status. Once I have my funding status, then only I'll get a college place from Oxford. A particular college place is only determined after you know about your funding. That's the technicality of Oxford.
And how do you determine your funding? How does that process
So
happen?
once I know how much scholarship I am getting, for example, there's this scholarship known as the Oxford Indira Gandhi DPhil Scholarship. So I was shortlisted for that. I have an interview coming up. If I do get that, it's a full ride scholarship. In that case, a certain college gives that funding. So I will be connected with that college. So that will be my college for the rest of the Oxford tenure. So once that is approved, you have multiple tests you need to do. For example, you have a TB test. You need that certificate.
The medical test.
Medical tests. And then you need an ATAS certificate. This is for highly sensitive PhDs, so that, you have to certify the fact.
What is an ATS test?
So ATAS is basically, it is not exactly a test, it is a document you need to fill. So for example, if you're in a particular field like physics or chemistry, dealing with sensitive chemicals or sensitive machinery, which can be used to build weapons of mass destruction, you need to have a supporting document with yourself.
Okay.
So these are the technicalities that certain PhD students need to fulfill to get their visa.
Got that.
So after that, I'll be starting my visa process.
So when you said that to go through it, it takes 1.5 to 2 years, which I absolutely agree on. But just enlighten the students on what exactly is most time taking in this entire process.
So the most time taking is honestly figuring out what you want to do. That is the most time consuming, because a lot of times what happens, even the ones who are in their undergraduate years, especially in general lines like chemistry or general physics per se, what happens is they don't really know what is the research they will carry out. So for me as well, that is the particular domain that took the most time. After that, shortlisting universities, shortlisting professors is honestly a cakewalk, because you know what you want to do and you know which university or professor is offering that to you. So that process just enters right into the frame. And be it documentation or anything else, if you know what you want to do, that will appear in your writing.
And what is the, like, what kind of sense, like, I can see you're so happy and so delighted about it. Now that you have gotten placed and you have interacted with the supervisors, what is the most attractive point you can see in being selected in Oxford?
So actually, this differs not by university but by professors.
I mean, other than the label that you got into Oxford University, what else is appealing to you?
So the most appealing thing, because I myself have been in the public speaking domain for a long time, the most appealing thing is the Oxford Union. The first thing I'm going to do once I get over there is to apply for the Oxford Union so that I can watch the debates. So that is very appealing.
Wonderful. So you have always been like a public speaker and you want to use that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started it in class 11, and college life has mostly taken a turn for me towards college events only. People could find me more in other colleges than my own college, to be very honest.
Like fests and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is that, in fact, there was a time I knew more about geopolitics than chemistry, because I gelled so much in MUNs and debates. Wow. So that has always fascinated me.
Okay, so for PhD, how much reading do you have to do, or how much into, like, how much, how do I put it? How much well studied do you have to be before you begin your PhD in your own field? Like, if you are going for a particular thing in chemistry, how much well read do you have to be about that before you begin?
Yeah, so there is a common misconception that you have to be an absolute expert in that particular domain before you enter into your PhD. But what happens is that even I, as a master's student, when I was in ISES, dealing with all the research and stuff, I was very overwhelmed, to be very honest. Even the first year PhDs over there felt overwhelmed. So it is a huge jump from academics into research. It is a big jump where you have so many responsibilities. You are a lab technician, you are a data analyst, you have to do everything on your own. So it is a huge jump. So it will be better for students not to have a misconception that you need to know everything. Yes, you have to be well versed in the domain you are entering. You have to know the foundation.
Know what you're doing.
Exactly. If your foundation is strong, you can specify that into a particular domain very well. Just keep your foundation
But it's also okay to be confused in the first few days, right?
Absolutely. And most people are confused and overwhelmed because it's, like I said, it's a huge step into a very different arena. Most people think it is another, specification in your academics, but this is a whole new ballpark where you research. You don't have help a lot of times. You are completely on your own most of the time. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a very generic question. You made it to Oxford. Do you think that what do you think people should do? And we have almost come to the end of our podcast. Yeah. So I'll just ask you this. What are the things that people need to focus in when they want to get into the dream university and a university like Oxford?
Yeah. So the things they should really focus on, technically speaking, is I can speak in terms of PhD, but even in terms of getting into such universities for your undergraduate or master's studies, what you really need to do is personalize your essays. The documents you're giving are the final transmission forms which they are seeing. Those are the things that reflect the student that you are.
Right.
So you have to personalize your journey. You can't just give a templated response which can, fit for every single university.
So true.
So you have to show them that your journey is completely specific to you, and this is something that can add on to the university life. It can add on holistically to other people studying over there, because they want not just students who are absolute robots doing their particular studies, but who can add on to the course in other ways as well, who can add into student clubs. So you have to add value to the university.
True. And now that you mentioned student club, is co-curricular given importance? Because you just said that you participated in all these fests and all.
Yeah.
So did co-curricular also come into an important role when you were applying abroad?
This might not be the answer a lot of people will expect. Co-curriculars won't really make a sense if they are not tied to the PhD that you're doing. For example, I am in public speaking. It does help with my presentations and everything, but it is not a steadfast rule that you have to do all this for a PhD. In terms of your undergraduate and your master's studies,
That
those
might be
things,
important.
those
very important.
not might be, those are important.
Those
to be
are
very
important,
honest,
absolutely. But for PhD, it has to be more aligned to your
Exactly.
subject. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else you'd like to add?
So what I'd like to add, especially for students who are, wishing to, enroll in such courses, be admitted to such universities, one thing is that we put a certain pressure on ourselves, because this is something I did as well. You have to have n number of publications, you need to know this much, but
Right.
what you need to do is be confident in yourself, because before Oxford I also had an interview from Cambridge University, and I kind of flunked that, but I understood and learned from it,
Which helped you cracking Oxford.
what I learned is that they do not really appreciate universities over there, even professors, when you try to make up an answer you're not confident about just to appear smart in front of them. You need to be very transparent and
Like, I
honest.
don't know this.
Yeah, I don't know this,
I'm
but
sorry,
I'm willing to learn.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't know this, but I'm
They
willing
really
to learn and
appreciate
get back.
that.
Yeah.
So if you have that personality, it also reflects in your documents.
Right. So
And
true.
that is something they are willing to see in you.
Thank you so much for your time, Rohit, and thank you for all the wonderful tips and and sharing your journey up till being selected as a candidate at Oxford University. All the best to you for your journey. I hope you have a wonderful time there.
Thank you so much.
And you become very successful in whatever you're trying to do.
I hope so as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, it's always been something I wanted to share as well. So
We are
this could
so
be the
glad you
platform
chose
for
this
that.
platform.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.